In this episode of Artists and Chefs at Home, we'll be visiting a beautifully updated ranch-style house in Amarillo, Texas. Artist Kasey Tam will create a tablescape that reflects the colors and plants of the Texas Panhandle. Chef Livia Woodburn will continue that theme in the kitchen with a meal that captures the flavors and traditions of Amarillo. Homeowner Lizzie Smith has invited us into her beautiful home in Amarillo. Lizzie, please take us on a tour.
I'd be delighted. So we bought this house that was built in 1950s. This house still has a lot of the remaining foundation in the front portion of the house. So while we kept the facade, we did over-exaggerate the entrance and then gutted the complete back of the house down to the studs. I really wanted to have a true feeling of indoor, outdoor, a lot of natural light. So you'll notice that there's a ton of big, broad, open windows that allow the light to come in filtered. The bar it doubles as a place where, you know, kids can break out a game and play, but it's also got a nice pool table. We really tried to keep it in pretty neutral color tones. So you'll see whites, camel green or sage greens. We wanted the architecture itself to speak about the house. My husband is a rancher, but also an art collector. I wanted this space to be someplace that was both romantic and livable for our family. This is a way for us to display the beautiful art, the beautiful collections, and yet still have fun and live in this space.
So we are up here in Amarillo, Texas. It's located in the Texas Panhandle. And one of the things that we have that's our best kept secret is the Palo Duro Canyon. So today we're going to be accentuating the colors that come from the canyon as well as our local flora and fauna in a beautiful tablescape. For tonight's tablescape, we're going to be making beautiful ice-dyed napkins. What this is going to do is allow us to transform the napkins by evoking the colors that you would see in the Palo Duro Canyon. You're going to need your napkin, 1 cup of soda ash, 1 gallon of water. Pour this in, and then you're going to stir it until it completely dissolves in the water. What this product does is it preps your fabric to make it where the dyes don't run into each other. And then once you kind of get it all down there and pushed in, you're gonna actually leave it to sit for 15 minutes. Our napkins have now been soaking in the soda ash material for over 15 minutes. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take those, you're gonna need to either have a large bowl of ice or a bag of ice handy. You're gonna want a tray and a wire rack. We're going to be using powdered dye. And as you can see, we've selected a lot of colors that you would find in the Palo Duro Canyon walls, and you're just gonna give them a nice wring out as you pull them out of the water. And then whenever you place them on your tray, try to open them and just lightly kind of bundle them up. Once you get to this stage, you're gonna start covering all the material you can see here. And then working with just 3 of the dye colors, you're just gonna go ahead, spoon out some, and just place it on the ice. I'd go ahead and do just a couple different patches. You can always come back to a color if you decide you want more of it. You don't have to change your spoon. You wanna make sure you get the dye on all the ice that has any fabric underneath it. And then once you get to this point, you have all of your ice covered, all you have to do is sit and wait for the ice to melt, and then the magic happens. And now I have our ice bucket full of water, and then I've emptied the bucket we used for our soda ash. What you're gonna do is you're gonna pick them up, give them a slight wring, and then you're gonna go ahead and transfer them to your cold water for a rinse. You'll wanna just wash them in your washing machine with a mild detergent on a cold setting. The soda ash actually made it to where it will not bleed. And as you can see, we have all of those colors incorporated into our napkins.
Chef Livia Woodburn has been a professional chef for over 15 years and owns the Panhandle Cafe in downtown Amarillo.
For our appetizer course, we're doing a classic wedge salad with a cilantro-lime dressing with a Southwest flair. I grew up in Amarillo, Texas, and went to high school at Amarillo High School. I graduated and went to West Texas A&M on a tennis scholarship and majored in art, and came back to Amarillo and as a graphic designer. I worked for the newspaper, and all of the art department was laid off. So my cousin and I, just for fun, started doing some parties for friends and family, and people were asking, so we decided to start a catering business. When a friend of mine that works for Amarillo National Bank came to me looking for someone to be in their restaurant spot, we decided to come look at the space and fell in love with it, and the rest is history.
And then you're ready to assemble your salads. I'm using a baby iceberg cut in half. You can also quarter a full-size iceberg. We have our dressing that we made earlier. I have a mixture of avocado, tomato, black beans, and roasted corn. And then we will finish it with roasted pumpkin seeds, cotija cheese, some jicama, and some green onions.
And what we're doing for these is we're using local pressed wildflowers. These can be purchased online, or don't be afraid to go in the backyard and go ahead and forage for your own products. So if you've decided to opt for foraging, what you're going to need in order to press your flower is a big, heavy book. So you're also going to be looking for flowers that have a very delicate connection to their stem. You're going to open your book closer to the back end so you have more weight on the front, and then you're going to go ahead and you're just going to press it down. You can even stack a couple more books on this to really get it as flat as you need to, and then open back up. As you can see, it helped press our flower completely. You can see all of the blooms there. Just go ahead and set it in and then press it down. If you're going to be using the pre-pressed flowers, we want to actually highlight this green from the underside of the daisy. So you're going to open your frame, and you can place these wherever you'd like, but we kind of want to go and add 3 in a line here so that whenever we use our paint pen to put our guest name on the frame, it actually doesn't overlap the flower. It's just right beneath it. Once you get them where you want them positioned, you can just simply turn it over and press it within. So I know place cards can be daunting for a lot of people, especially if you don't have any calligraphy skills. However, the nice thing about having these acrylic see-through place cards is you can actually print a tracing pattern for yourself. So I have one of our guest names here printed in 2 different sizes so I can kind of see which one lines up what I like more. I think we're going to go with the larger. And then you just take your paint pen and you simply trace the font you see. Onto your acrylic. I'm going to go ahead and thicken those same lines so it really gives it that hand-drawn calligraphy touch. And there you have a place card that's also a takeaway for your guest.
For our main course tonight, we are having bacon-wrapped beef tenderloin with Mexican street corn and grilled zucchini. I'm gonna start by halving the zucchini, drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil, and season with a little salt and pepper.
I have felt that the Amarillo food scene has changed and evolved so much through the years. I felt like for a while we were a little behind everybody, seeing other even smaller towns have so many food trucks and, you know, just so many new fun things going on, and we were held back for some reason, but we are now starting to really come alive. It's interesting because we are in beef country, but it is nice to see places that are offering vegetarian, vegan, other countries bringing their foods here, and it's really fun to see what all has happened since I started with my restaurant. Some chili powder and just a pinch of cayenne and some salt and pepper to taste. We're gonna start by putting our Mexican street corn down a little bit right of center and add some of our grilled zucchini, and then our filet will go on top. And I've prepared a chipotle roasted garlic compound butter to go on top. The corn will get a little bit of queso fresco, and then top everything with a little bit of cilantro.
So we're now going to begin building our tablescape. And what we want to start with is our table runner that we're sending down the table. We have selected this kind of terracotta colored gauze. The gauze is a really nice organic looking fabric. It really reflects kind of that motion that you see of the canyon whenever you're looking at it from above. Widen out between place settings, and then yeah, just build it up, and you'll be able to kind of tweak it around as we bring in our other candlesticks and things like that. So our next step is to really anchor the dining table. So what we've decided to do, since it's such a large dining space, is to go with a really extravagant floral arrangement. One of my friends ended up making this. She has a local flower farm. All of these items are grown here in the Texas Panhandle. And as you can see, she really was conscious about selecting the flowers that pulled those same colors from our ice dyeing project. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this arrangement and we're just gonna ground the entire space right here, and then we'll build out from this. So now we really want to go ahead and set the mood. Candles are a great way to do that. One thing that I'm adding are these glass hurricanes. I really like that it just adds another dimensional element. We love to kind of layer as we build out, and it really helps the table feel full. You don't have to use a hurricane. You can use any type of pillar stand, but it's just that extra little bit of visual interest. And then we're just gonna move down and kind of replicate this look throughout the rest of the table. So to contrast the colors that we have going on the table, we wanted to bring in a green element. We've selected this native yucca. We're placing them on these agate slices. They cause a lot of visual interest, and it helps the terracotta pot actually pop off of our terracotta gauze runner. We wanted to go ahead and bring in one more element to just kind of soften the tone on the ends and to tie in that centerpiece. Lizzie has these really great just single stem vases in the silver, which matches the serveware that we're using. And then what I'm going to use to fill them are just some of these fresh, local wildflowers that mimic what's in the centerpiece. And then just like last time, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna replicate the entire look on the opposite end of the table. Now we are going to begin by building our place settings. I have chosen several things that Lizzie already had in her home. To start, we went with these really great placemats. What they do is add a lot of contrast to the darker table. She also has these really incredible chargers that pick up on all those purple tones we used in our ice dyeing as well as in our wildflowers. Next, we're gonna be using these kind of fun glasses that she has. First, we have this wine-colored one, we have this green, and then last for the water glass, we're bringing in the amber. This just is a really fun play on all of the wildflower colors that you see down the table. And then next, we're using the silver flatware to again pick up on what our containers down the table have, just brightening the entire table up at each place setting. And then next, what you're gonna wanna do is take your ice dyed napkin, and we're just gonna kind of fold it really loosely so that you can see all of the different colors that we use. And last, you're gonna take your place card and just kind of set it there for them. And there you have it.
We'll be finishing with blackberry mojito sorbet served with a cinnamon sugar cookie. To start with our sorbet, we're going to begin with the simple syrup, 1/4 of a cup of water, 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 1/4 of a cup of lime juice, and that will go onto the stove until your sugar has dissolved and your solution is simmering a little bit. And then we're gonna add our 1/4 of a cup of packed mint leaves. Get them into your hot sugar solution. You can cover them and let it steep for 20 minutes. While our simple syrup is steeping, we will puree our blackberries. I feel that women chefs are underrepresented, but in Amarillo there are quite a few, and it's been really fun to see our representation growing and people excited to work with us and collaborate in business and in events, and I feel like it's our time to shine and compete with these boys. And you will strain the seeds out into your container. Once you've strained all your seeds out of your puree, get your freezer safe container and you will put it in the freezer and just get a fork and stir it every hour for probably 2 to 3 hours. Once your sorbet is done, it will expand a bit and look like this. We are going to get a nice sized scoop and garnish it with some fresh mint. And these are my favorite bizcocho recipe, but feel free to use any store-bought cinnamon sugar cookie you like. It's just for a little texture, and you're done.
Livia's menu was amazing. It's perfect for Panhandle cuisine. We love beef, we love spice, the chipotle, the Mexican corn. One thing I loved about it was that the dinner was really not very difficult to prepare. I was able to do a lot of the prep work ahead of time, so when my guests showed up, we could enjoy some champagne, we could enjoy each other's company, and then sit right down and have a nice dinner. I'm in love with what Kasey did with the tablescape. It's incredible how those colors reflect the Palo Duro Canyon and the Panhandle landscape. The ice-dyed napkins perfectly match the beautifully locally grown flower centerpiece. It's incredible. To friends.
To friends.
Thanks for joining us. On our website, artisanchefs.com, you will find detailed recipes, table creation tips, and a list of local retailers where you can purchase our table and meal kits to create your own custom dinner party.